Oracle for Startups live from Startup Grind in Redwood City, California. I'm Whitney Dermick, and my guest is Jason Williamson, the VP and Global Head of Oracle for Startups. Jason, thank you for being here.
It's awesome to be here. It's awesome to be with people.
Yeah.
You know, it's been, golly, a couple of years since we were all back here at Redwood Shores, so It's great. It's awesome.
What's the most challenging thing and what's the most exciting thing about being back?
Back? Wow. I think the pace, you forget the pace, right? Like you're schlepping stuff, you've got to meet people. There's a constant drive for that. That's the best part and the worst part.
Yep.
So I think they're the same thing, you know? And it's great too, because you see a lot of people you haven't seen in a long time, because Startup Grind, they've been a great partner of ours for so many years, and we've made some great friends here, not just in California, but you get to see people from England and people from Israel and Denmark and all over the place. So I think for me, that's the best part, is the people part.
Right. I'd love to hear more a little bit about how Oracle for Startups and Startup Grind are working on that global scale in those startup hubs around the world.
Yeah, sure. So for people who don't know, Startup Grind is really a network of communities all around the world, just bringing startups together so that they can learn from each other, grow with each other, have access to mentorship and capital and all these kinds of things that communities do. And so we really just try to come alongside that effort all over the world. In fact, I got to meet somebody from Mexico City that I hadn't seen for a couple of years, and then we're talking with them on like, hey, here's how we're thinking about that country, you know, here's how we want to involve ourselves in that group. Like, what's the best way to do that? Here's what we think. What do you think? And so there's a lot of that. So that's one of the ways that we work, you know, why this sponsorship is important to us. You know, obviously we want startups to hear about Oracle for Startups, but we learn as much as we get a chance to teach about us. So
And I think there's that shared core value of creating incredible experiences for startups. Obviously, this is one of them. Oracle for Startups is also really focused on that customer experience. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I can maybe talk about it at a couple different levels. Kind of the idea of it is, people hear me say, you know, we want to help people build things that haven't been built before. To do that, there needs to be some things that are true, right? And it means that the experience has to be good.
Right.
And so we really work hard to make sure that a startup has the best user experience they possibly can. Because I know that most startups that come through our doors aren't going to be around in a year or two. That's just, you know, in fact, I remember a conversation that I had with Larry Ellison at the beginning of this kind of startup program, the way we're running it now. And he asked a trick question. You know, we were around the table, he's like, how many startups are going to be successful that you bring in? And I'm like, you know the answer to that. Like, he's like hardly any. How are you possibly going to predict these? And so that got us to shift from highly vetted startups that we think would be successill to like, everybody just come. Like, why are we helping everybody? Instead of just a few that we aren't predicting very well anyway. VCs can't do it, why can we? So that means if you're gonna come and you may not be successful in your business, I want you to have had a good experience here, because you're gonna do it again. Because that's what we do. We do it again. And that you're gonna have different levels of success. So your experience here has to be good, and whether you're successful or not, if you're not, then I want you to come back. If you are, then awesome. You know? And so that's kind of the top level of that idea. Okay? So taking it down one more, like tactically, well, how do we do that, right? Because I can talk, but that doesn't mean anything. And so we actually, this year in particular, we've made a lot of investments, both in people and process, for customer and user experience. Really in two areas. One, the developer services group, which I'm a part of, our team's a part of at Oracle, cares deeply about user experience. They're doing good work there that benefits our startups. How does the console work? How does the sign up work? How does spinning up services work? We get to benefit from that. Then there's the idea of the startup journey, which is special and unique and different than every other Oracle user. And so we've made some pretty important hires and investment in processes to measure that, take that feedback, and make changes. Right? And so that might be more of an answer than you wanted. That was a lot of words. I get it, but it's really important. If you're going to understand that question, you have to understand our philosophy behind it.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's coming from.
Yeah, no, not too much at all, because I think it's really important. And I also think it's important to differentiate customer experience from a relationship perspective, and customer experience from a technology perspective, which sitting in this dev services team means that we've got the hands-on keyboards is a good experience. That allows us to have that covered, and then we get to focus on the person to person. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So there's kind of two minds in this world of running programs in this space. You could be totally self-service, like other cloud providers. You know, you'll get some attention if you spend $1 bazillion. I made that number up, but you understand what I'm saying. And then there's another mind that says super high touch, like we're going to run a incubator. Right?
And it's boot camp and it's pitch competitions.
We think that it's yes and. You know, we want startups to come in and do self-service if they want it. We want startups that will benefit, and Oracle will benefit from a personal relationship at the appropriate time. And we have that. So we kind of call that light touch. And so that user experience has to be good. So from an Oracle perspective, it's important for us, if we're going to like deliver on that promise, we have to make good decisions on how we know where to apply that, because our resources are finite. You know, I can't like call every single startup that comes through, and actually none of them want to be called. You know, some of them do, and the ones that do, we want to figure out how to identify them. And so a lot of our work is figuring out what are those signals that it's the right time to engage with that startup so that we can help them do the most at the best time. And so that's the light touch space. So yes, you get to call somebody and you get to talk to them and they help you navigate this place. And then ultimately, you know, the dream is that we walk in the door together with an Oracle customer and you get to sell to them. You know, that's another like phrase I like to use, uniquely different and better. You know, we want to make something here uniquely different, meaning you kind of know what we do here, but it's special, but we're also better. You know?
And it's creating that great experience for that end customer. Like,
100%.
Here's what you're looking for on a platter, delivered by a company that you trust with the reputation of Oracle, and some innovation that we've created together.
Absolutely, yes. And that's the part I don't really talk about, is that enterprise customer. You know, this allows us to be a good partner to them, right? Not just selling them more database or more whatever, but we can bring solutions to them that we might not have built. Right? But it's built on Oracle, and that's an infrastructure that enterprise is already running on apps that we own, and things play nicely together. And so that's kind of the dream, I guess. So.
It's the win-win-win scenario that we talk so much about.
The virtuous cycle, all those things.
All those things.
All the things.
So what are you most excited about for this next iteration of Oracle for Startups, now that the world seems to be open, we're back at startup time? What are you excited about?
I'm really excited about young people. And what I mean by that is students. So I think there's so many things. One, if you're going to build and create something, you often get exposed to those inspirations when you're in college. And the tools you're exposed to in college tend to be your bias for what you're going to build upon. And so we have a great opportunity to engage with the student population and bring them easy tools that the professors can use, that they can use to go create things that are new. So I'm excited about that. We've been doing some kind of under the covers experimentation. We call it Oracle for Startups on campus. So we've been at places like University of Texas, we've been at USC, we've been at Morgan State, we've been at University of Virginia, which I'm wearing today, and we're really excited to scale that this year. And so that is very exciting for us.
And this idea of bringing that experience to this next generation, are they resonating with it? Are they excited?
Absolutely. You know, because I think this group is uniquely different than my era, you know, right? Like they're different. They want to create things not for the sake of wealth, only. They want to create things that are going to make a difference, and that's just like a defining thing of this generation. And so being able to, having seen what Oracle for Startups has done in that space, where like a lot of the startups we do are making differences, not just money. Like we need both of those, by the way. You know, you could see, in fact, I did a blog post the other day on my personal experience in the Ukraine in the 80s and kind of how we're working in that environment right now. And I fully believe then, believe now that like freedom is intertwined with the ability to create things economically, because then all boats rise on that. So that's what's exciting to see with students and why it's resonating with them.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's all very exciting. To check out Jason's blog on his experience in the Ukraine, check out blogs.oracle.com/startup. Jason, thank you so much for being with me.
Always good to see you, especially here at Startup Grind.
We're having a blast.
Awesome.
All right, thank you.